We have people that are yelling for our help, and we are going to take extreme risks to try to get them out of there tonight.
Emergency managers in Snohomish County still trying to reach people trapped by that massive landslide. The wall of mud and debris killed 3 people and injured at least 8 others. And people who live along the North Fork of the Stillaguamish River are being told to evacuate. The slide covers Highway 530 near Oso and has clogged up the river. And there are concerns now about what happens next. We have team coverage tonight. We will start with King 5's Heather Graff live at the Arlington Police Station with an update from emergency officials.
That's Palo Falco, moments after a massive wall of mud and debris came crashing down onto State Route 530 and right in front of his car.
I was coming down the hill and we just saw that thing coming. Like, the best thing to describe is a darkness.
And while it is still far too dangerous to go beyond the roadblocks now set up in Snohomish County, Palo's muddy shoes and his still shaky voice.
I feel lucky. I feel lucky.
Give us a glimpse into the devastation this landslide left behind.
Oh my gosh, look at that, guys. Look at this.
So far, we know at least 6 homes were destroyed, 3 lives were lost, 8 others were taken to nearby hospitals, including an infant. And the search for survivors continues on the ground and in the air. First responders here called it the worst slide, the worst natural disaster they've seen in this area in decades.
Think back to what Mount St. Helens and the Toutle River look like, and that's what we're looking at.
And since debris from the landslide is now choking the Stillaguamish River, it's not just State Route 530 that's impacted. If that natural-made dam gives way, everyone downstream is in danger.
If it does break through and goes around, who knows what's going to happen?
There is only one word to describe it.
Sadness.
And based on what Palo saw early this morning, things could very soon get a whole lot worse.
Number 1 at 5. King 5 News starts now.
What is it? A house? It's a house. There was a big landslide.
New 911 calls reveal voices of disbelief at the site that becomes all too real for a small community in Snohomish County.
We know that part of this tightly knit community has been lost.
Rescue crews and volunteers work round the clock searching the muddy debris field for victims.
If you stop long enough, you'll start to lose it.
Coming together in the hopes of a miracle. Since Saturday, many of the people who live in Darrington took it upon themselves to assist in the search and rescue efforts of their friends and their neighbors.
But today they received much needed help from the federal government. King 5's Janet Kim got a first-hand look at the efforts underway. She joins us live from Darrington. Janet.
Early this morning, volunteers were lined up outside of the Darrington Fire Department, all hoping to get on the official search and rescue team until the city couldn't take any more. With extra hands on deck, many in this town are hopeful. Reinforcements have arrived to the town of Darrington.
Okay, Squad 2 leader to East 3 rescue.
Local, state, federal agencies are working as one in the aftermath of a deadly landslide.
Plan is to kind of intensify the search area.
There we go. But with extra hands and feet in town, access to the hardest hit zones are harder to come by.
Because not everybody's allowed access in here. We're in here right now because we live here and we were able to get in, but the others can't come in.
While others are being turned away, Elaine and Don Young have a front seat to it all.
Well, they brought in a couple teams of people. We've got some dogs and rescue people down here, and we've got machinery and more rescue people coming in from the Oso side.
Since Saturday, the Young's property has been a meeting place for volunteers.
That's the sheriff helicopter.
Now it's the launching pad for coordinated efforts.
Our house is the only real access down to this area here from the backside, so we've just been using our quad runners and the equipment that we have at the house to ferry supplies and whatever the rescue personnel need.
But the Youngs aren't just running supplies. They're picking up things found among the devastation.
Photos and a Bible. Starting Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, as we come across mementos and things of personal nature, we're putting them in, we're picking them up and collecting them.
So like the rescuers, they too can bring closure.
I think the ultimate goal is to, rescue, recover the neighborhood.
We shared with you earlier this week that an Oso firefighter's wife and 4-month-old granddaughter were among the missing, and the photos of that precious little girl will just make your heart hurt. Well, tonight we are sad to have to pass along that loved ones tell us the grandmother, 45-year-old Christina Jeffords, is now confirmed dead. We are learning more about her as the search for the baby continues. There is a void at this Marysville dentist office.
Her desk is empty, yeah. It's a constant reminder.
An empty chair and an unending heartache that no amount of flowers, condolences, or kind words can heal.
She's just a wonderful person, caring, giving, loving.
Christina Jeffords worked as the office manager here for more than 20 years. She was babysitting her 4-month-old granddaughter, Sanoa, on Saturday morning when the landslide came down on their Steelhead Drive home. Her firefighter husband and adult daughter, Sanoa's mom, have been searching for the pair ever since.
And I imagine them caked with the same earth that swallowed up their family members.
But the search for Chris, as those in Dr. Peterson's office often called her, came to an end sometime Sunday.
When you're in this business, you know that from time to time there will be occasions where authorities come by and ask for records.
Their fears confirmed.
To identify somebody, but you don't think it's going to be one of your own.
Christina is gone.
So we kind of knew.
No word yet on baby Sanoa, but they know she has to be somewhere in the debris and close to where her grandmother was found.
But she just loved that child. She loved that child.
There is a void at this Marysville dentist office.
They're just one story. There are hundreds, I'm sure.
And a family in Oso that will never be the same.
And I think she'd probably say, I'm okay. I'm okay. I've got Sanoa. I'll take care of her. Please take care of my daughter.
And family members tell us that they will not give up. They will not stop searching until they find baby Sanoa. And you can bet that everyone in this community is hoping and praying that they do. And keep in mind, this is one of many, many families who are hurting in the aftermath of this landslide. We're live from Arlington. Heather Graff, King 5 News.
So how did this landslide happen? It's happened before.
Jeff Renner joins us live in Arlington with a look at exactly what happened and the risks as we go forward. Jeff?
Well, thank you very much. The blue skies right now stand in most definitely stark contrast to the very gray mood here. But the clearing skies enabled scientists to take to the air. You may hear a helicopter buzzing overhead right now to get a better sense of exactly what happened, why, and what threat might remain. The slide is massive. 4,400 feet wide, 4,400 feet long, 30 to 40 feet deep. State geologist Dave Norman just flew over the slide.
This is one of the biggest landslides I've seen. We are flying LiDAR and aerial photography in the area. We're also putting out additional stream gauges.
River gauges on the North Fork of the Stillaguamish showed an abrupt drop at the time of the slide Saturday. On Sunday, the flow resumed as the river topped the debris field. I'm standing in the Stillaguamish River about 15 miles downriver from the slide site. Weather, of course, a major contributor. On average, this particular area would receive about 7 inches of rain in the month of March, about this much. However, we've received more than double that amount, about 15 inches of rain over the past 3 weeks. Geology and soils, weather, and human activity all influence the potential for such slides. Glaciers on nearby peaks are remnants of the ice that once filled this valley 20,000 years ago. This is an example of the kind of material the glaciers left behind. A mix of sand, rock, it's very loose and easily saturated. Add rain, heavy rain this month, double the average, more than 15 inches. And here's a demonstration of exactly what happened. You have a foundation layer of either bedrock or very compressed clay. On top of that, this loose mix of sand and glacial rock. Add water like we had this past month, and it lubricates it and it slides. We're expecting at times heavy rainfall up here later this week. The question now is, could there be additional slides?
But the bigger question that's now being narrowly focused on is, could this accident have been foreseen? 12 days before Sunday's massive landslide, there was a small earthquake recorded near the slide area. You can see it here, and it was tiny, a 1.1.
It would be bigger than hitting the floor with a sledgehammer even.
But could that have been a precursor to the giant slide that followed? There are tiny quakes all the time around our state that no one can feel, that doesn't even rattle a window.
Clearly an earthquake this small is not, the shaking from it is not really going to affect the surface of the ground or really cause the landsliding itself.
This is LIDAR. Think of it like light radar, a type of technology that strips away vegetation, exposing the earth below. This particular image taken last year shows the hill before the slide, that red line where it broke free on Saturday. And if you look closely, you can see where the slides came before, complete with debris from the past.
And my initial reaction was one of being sort of angry.
Dr. Daniel Miller wrote a report in 1999 for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers about that very area and warned of a big slide.
After a portion of the road and several houses had already been destroyed by a type of landslide that had occurred repeatedly over a single person's lifespan, it seemed like not a good idea to build there again.
County officials say the area was safe, that mitigation work following the last slide 8 years ago was working.
The homeowners in this community, this particular community, and throughout Snohomish County were very aware of the slide potential.
But Dave Montgomery, a slide expert with the University of Washington, says this area has been on the radar for geologists for a long time. But like earthquakes, timing is everything.
The timing of when something like that would fail in the future is obviously very difficult to establish, but the idea that that was actually a dangerous slope was known.
Now, LIDAR, remember that image we showed you earlier? That is actually made up of a lot of computer data. They flew a LIDAR flight yesterday when the weather was certainly a lot better than it is now. We have very low ceiling here. This is not good for flying it today. And it will take several more days before that data is crunched and we have a new image of what the area looks like now. That may also show some tension cracking that would suggest that more pieces of that cliff could be breaking away. Live in Arlington, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.
Thank you, Glenn. And we wanted you to take a look at this perspective of the slide. The before picture on the left shows the Stillaguamish River and Highway 530. After the slide, the massive amount of mud and debris 1.5 miles wide cuts off the river and the highway.
Family and friends of those lost in that landslide refuse to give up hope, despite just how much time has now passed.
King 5's Jake Wittenberg talked to one woman who made it her mission to find her friend, and she did.
So exhausted that sometimes I just don't know if I can even form words to tell you anything or explain anything.
But the story starts on Saturday morning for Rhonda Cook. When up the road from her house, she heard sirens and word that the mountain came crashing down.
And you know, the look on people's faces, they couldn't believe it. And at that point in time, we didn't even know the magnitude of it.
And she didn't know that her childhood friend, Summer Raffo, who shared a love of horses, was buried.
Her mom she called me and she was crying and she said, Summer's stuck in the mud. At that point in time, I promised her that I would do whatever it took to make sure we got her out of the mud.
Summer's brother Dane also made that his mission. He, Cook, and others dug through the debris day after day.
We were locating bodies. We located, 3 bodies.
But it was Wednesday when someone spotted Blue.
And anybody that knows Summer knows that she drove a blue Subaru. They weren't going to give up until they could, figure out if somebody was in the car, and they found her.
Cook and Dane were able to stall the recovery helicopter long enough to call other family, so she and 3 of Summer's brothers could be the ones to pull her free from the driver's seat.
Breaks your heart, but you're also relieved. She's no longer in the mud.
After a moment together, the helicopter pilot knew what to do, and the brothers got to say goodbye to their sister.
That was what they needed. They needed to be the ones to do that.
Life stopped for a lot of people on that morning. But Cook can't stop digging because up here, she'll tell you, that's what they do.
But you keep stuffing your feelings down and keep saying you're going to deal with it later no matter what. You know, we've got a job to do.
Cook isn't the only one headed back up to the landslide, even though Dane Bruner found his sister Summer. He's headed back up too. In Darrington, Jake Wittenberg, King 5 News.
Some closure tonight for the family of 4-month-old Sanoa Hustis. Her body was found today at the site of the landslide. According to the family, she will be buried with her grandmother, Christina Jeffords, who was found in debris not far away. Christina was babysitting her granddaughter when the slide happened. Sanoa Hustis, Christina Jeffords, and Steve Neal are some of the people featured in a special section on King5.com dedicated to the victims of the slide. You can go there and read their personal stories. Just look for the link on King5.com.
Up to 7 million cubic yards of land and debris broke loose during the landslide. To give you some perspective, that would cover 547 football fields, including end zones, 6 feet deep. It would fill Boeing's Everett plant, the world's largest building, almost halfway. And the debris field is 8 times the amount of dirt and muck being dug out by Bertha for the tunnel under downtown Seattle.
Throughout our coverage of the Oso landslide, we've talked a lot about Steelhead Drive, a street virtually wiped off the map.
In 2007, Snohomish County drafted a written notice warning residents that Steelhead Drive was in a hazardous area. But King 5 investigator Chris Ingalls uncovered that the notice was sent to only one homeowner there.
I just lost a house and possessions. Our friends and neighbors up there lost everything.
Davis Hargrave knows he's one of the lucky few.
This was before I built the new deck.
His longtime vacation home on Steelhead Drive is gone. But it's not the place, it's the people that matter. And he says the people in his neighborhood were never warned that a slide could cross the Stillaguamish River in his backyard and hit homes.
I have no record of or recollection of any conversation, any letter, any presentation, zero, zip, nada.
After this 2006 landslide near the neighborhood, Snohomish County did take steps to warn residents. The King 5 investigators found the county drafted this notice in 2007. The Hazard Area Disclosure Notice warned that the area is at risk of potentially life-threatening destructive mud, water, and debris flows. But records show the notice was only issued once to one homeowner on Steelhead Drive.
What I think is that, there's a failing of the system here somewhere.
The notice was signed by a couple in 2009 who wanted to move this manufactured home onto their Steelhead property. The county planning department says the notice was only required to be signed for building permits, and there was only one since 2007. Everyone else, from people buying homes in the neighborhood to longtime owners like Davis Hargrave, knew nothing about the official county warning.
If these conclusions could have prevented one person up there, one person, one more survivor, and they didn't give it to us, then there's fault.
Neighbors say the county allowed 7 homes to be constructed right after the 2006 slide, another cue that all was safe. The homes were permitted before the warning notices were required in 2007. One builder I spoke with on the phone said he too was unaware of the ongoing danger. He worked for the company that built those homes, and then he bought one. His stepson is now among the missing. Perhaps no one could have predicted the massive slide that swept Steelhead, but reports and warnings of potential risks seem to never make it to the people actually living in harm's way.
They should figure out what happened, why it happened, and they should figure out how to fix it so it doesn't ever happen again.
The county has said that people knew of the risks on Steelhead Drive and chose to live there anyway. But in the paperwork we've seen, there doesn't seem to be much written evidence of that.
Been some changes and downturns in the economy.
Oso is a town that had seen better days long before its worst day.
Lord, we just ask that you would give us your peace and your strength to carry on.
When a school closes, part of a town dies. Another part goes with the grocery store and gas station. Easy for outsiders to write a town like Oso off.
Some of the infrastructure is no longer here. but there is a lot of life.
As a man in the life business,
We will not be knocked out.
Pastor Gary Ray has plenty of evidence
Okay, there you go.
to which he can point.
This is a heavy one.
Oso is putting an army of volunteers to work.
I'm gonna give you a hug.
Rhodes River Ranch, a training and breeding facility for reining horses, is now also a sorting station for clothing and food.
Every bit of this will go to people that are starting all over.
The old school is alive again. Volunteer searchers and first responders sleeping on mattresses on the floor. Down the road, the sawmill is buzzing, even as Ron Carlson's co-owner is absent. Among those searching at the landslide.
These guys are resilient. These guys are tough. I mean, they're not going to quit. They're not quitters. You know, they're not quitters.
They are realists.
This is probably a 2-year recovery plan minimum that we're looking at.
And they are hurting.
It's overwhelming.
Kelly Perkins, out of her home since Saturday, returned today for her television, still afraid to stay for fear of flooding on Deer Creek.
You know, there's nothing worth here with my life. I mean, I have a choice, I can get out. So.
But she is committed to returning.
It's our own little piece of paradise.
Oso's residents have seen better days, but count Kelly among those believing the best could still be ahead.
We love our little piece of the world.
Boyd Hooper, King 5 News.
Donations from viewers have made a big difference for those affected by the slide.
To donate a little cash, a gas card, and now all of you, look at what you've done. Here's Jesse Jones.
Our journey begins in Mount Lake Terrace at Red Onion Burgers, where they had a huge fundraiser. And a lot of this money is going to go for gas cards. Come on. Sean, what do you have?
I've got $2,500 in gift cards for the mudslide victims from Shell gas station, just for you. We appreciate you doing this.
First stop, Darrington City Hall and Mayor Dan Rankin. Here's $5,000 from Safeway.
Thank you, Jesse. And thank you, Safeway.
Next, of course, the gas station. Why can't you make it to work?
Because there's a mudslide in the way. It would take me 2 hours and I work nights. I'm not going to drive that road at night. I can't.
Why do they have to go to Arlington?
For work.
That's got to hurt you.
Well, it does. Yeah. It's expensive. Arlington?
You have to go down for? What do you have to go down for?
Appointments for my daughter.
So tell me, have you been doing a lot of traveling?
My husband does. He works in Woodinville. And
he works in Woodinville?
Yeah, he works in Woodinville. He has for 13 years.
I want to help you out. I'll get you a $100 gas card.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Hopefully
that
you can
means a lot.
Get you to your job, okay?
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Let me give you a $100 gift card.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much, sir.
We're going to make sure you get to where you need to go.
That's helpful.
Let me give you a $100 gas card. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me give you a $100 gift card.
Okay.
Gas card.
Okay.
Hopefully, that'll help.
He's going to be tickled to pieces.
Here's a $100 gift card for food.
Oh, wow.
On top of that, okay?
Thanks.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
We started this in 1950.
Finally, Jeanette Cade, an octogenarian who's made the traditional funeral dinners in Darrington for 60 years. 100. She 200. Gets Safeway gift cards. 300. 400. 500. 600. There's $700 I want for this to go through and to keep those funeral dinners going.
I don't know how to say. I don't know how to say thank you to all the help that we've had in this community.
So, if you want to donate, donate to the Darrington Mudslide Fund, P.O. Box 90, Darrington 98241, and write gas cards on the check. Now, I want to show you something. These are the donations that came in one day. The total, $56,895. Unbelievable. Thank you, but we can't stop. This tragedy's not going away. The need's not going away. So let's just keep it on coming. Back to you guys.
And you're not going away either, Jesse. Well done.
Good job,
for
Jesse.
all those who contributed. Thank you so much.
Today it's let Jesse's friends buy it and help the people in the landslide area.
Jean Anderson is in Arlington tonight.
Jean, what is the sense of community there this evening?
I'm trying to encapsulate what it feels like to be here, to coming from a big city like Seattle to a tiny community here in Arlington. And I think it's four things. Even those people that are not caught in a mudslide, they're frozen too. They wait, they watch, they hope. And one more thing they do until they hear good word, they help.
We have diapers, baby food, formula.
Ron and Shirley Vognild filled their van in just 10 minutes with donations.
Just felt the need to do something to help out. I've been watching the news and I'm away just a little ways from tears and having a hard time handling it.
But they needed to get the perishable food up there right away. So we went home, got the van, and let's do it.
I just kind of put out the word on Facebook.
Amanda Davidson and friends, using Facebook, filled an entire trailer in just 3 hours. Why are you doing this?
They need it. They need it. It's so devastating. These people, what they're going through, and we needed to do something.
And you're going through it too.
Yeah. Well, I'm an EMT, first responder. So, knowing that there's a firefighter that his family's missing, okay. Knowing that we had to do something.
There were tears.
Thank you.
Now I want your t-shirt. But this caring seemed to make everyone feel better. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yes. And a hug is nice.
Few tears here as well. It's pretty hard to see these people go through such terrible, terrible times, but the help is just tremendous and it's so appreciated. I was up at OSO last week, and I have to say it's the hardest story I've ever covered. And you see how much is lost in terms of homes and whole families and lives, and how much work there is to do. And I mean, it just gets to your heart and gets to your soul. We asked Bob Rivers' audience to join us in trying to help the landslide victims by donating to Northwest Response, and here's how you can help. You can make donations to the OSO Landslide Relief Fund online or at any U.S. bank branch. Just visit king5.com for more details. So far, your generosity has raised more than $553,000 for OSO relief handled by the Red Cross in OSO. Thank you. And we continue to bring you the latest on the OSO landslide and how it's affecting the community. The next news conference comes up at 6, and we'll bring that to you live on Kong and Northwest Cable News. You can also get updates anytime on our website at king5.com.
In a place that is still so far from healed, progress can be a powerful thing.
It's changed quite a bit. If you have a chance to get out there and drive it, you'll see how significantly different it is.
And at the site of the OSO landslide, you might say this is a milestone. 70 acres of land once completely covered in debris that come Friday will finally be clear.
We processed about 200,000 cubic yards of material.
Matt Zybis ran the project for Snohomish County and will tell you this was about so much more than removing soil and rock.
It's, the pictures and things that are very sentimental to people that were part of their lives prior to this event.
It's about the nearly 1,000 prized possessions crews found as they sifted through mounds of earth and pieces of homes destroyed in the slide.
I spent all morning cleaning it off.
Family heirlooms. Yeah. Like what's left of this beaded Native American bag they were able to return to survivor Robin Youngblood.
I had asked them to keep their eyes open for certain ceremonial items that I had and so forth.
This construction site is sacred.
And I had asked them to please be respectful and not pass them through too many hands. And they were very good about that, and I really appreciate it.
And to that, these crews have just one response. It was an honor. In OSO, Heather Graff, King 5 News.
It's the prom that shouldn't have been. No hair or makeup. Dump the dresses too. Put an end to the pictures.
Some smiles.
All of this was a dream because of the 530 slide. It had taken lives and financially ripped the town of Darrington apart. The prom was the town's last priority.
And then one of the parents was like, well, let's just find a barn and lay a tarp down and have it out there. We really didn't know what to consider.
Your parents aren't gonna be running the prom? Because I am.
A plan was hatched. Bring Darrington the prom of a lifetime, and the timeless Darrington gym would be transformed from hardwood to Hollywood.
Big night. Pretty nice deal for the kids. Pretty nice for the adults, too.
1, 2, 3.
After the red carpet heading down the hall, the kids had no clue what was in store for them next.
Oh, yeah!
When you first walked in, what went through your mind?
Like, this isn't our gym. This isn't it. I don't know where I am.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Well, believe it. And the kids owned it.
The music's great and everything's great. It looks great out there, too.
Can you dance, man?
I think I can.
The donors came through with everything. The event was free. The moments, priceless.
The homecoming queen is Riley Anderson.
At first I thought it was actually going to be canceled too because of everything that happened and the devastation, but I'm so happy that you came to help us and we're so thankful.
That's nice. But who we all owe our admiration to are these kids who danced and partied and held each other through the night.
Here we go!
But endured and stayed strong through many others after the disaster. This was deservedly their night to celebrate each other.
It's quite amazing to see our whole high school and lower classmen just come together, and it's just amazing.
In Darrington, Jesse Jones, King 5 News.
It was a rainy Saturday morning.
No, March the 22nd started off like just any other day.
The morning of the Oso landslide.
911, what is your emergency?
My pager went off for what was reported as a roof of a barn and flooding in the road on State Route 530.
There is a house on 530, and it is covering the road.
We have people that are yelling for our help.
It was the longest week of this fire chief's career.
And we're going to take extreme risks to try to get them out of there tonight.
You know his face and you know his name because Travis Hotz had the unenviable task.
Today's operation is going to involve aircraft.
Of telling his community what no one wanted to hear.
We didn't see or hear any signs of life out there today.
He was the initial incident commander and the voice of this tragedy.
Because the mud was so thick.
Who updated the media and the public every single day as the death toll climbed to 43 and the rescues turned to recoveries.
I would have rather been out there digging every single day than been a spokesperson, but when you agree to put a gold badge on and wear a white shirt in this business as a fire chief, you agree to let the firefighters and the company officers go out and handle those tasks.
With the debris field now clear and the 6-month anniversary of the landslide upon us,
we had people that we had already found.
This is the first time Chief Hotz has spoken publicly since that job was complete.
I don't take life for granted. I realize that it's fragile and that the unthinkable could happen at any time, at any place.
You'd feel the same way.
Our people are going to remember this forever.
If you'd seen what he did.
Yeah, I had been there a very short period of time. You could hear helicopters in the background working. There's a lot of radio traffic going on. And an individual that I know that's on the fire department came up to me and said, hey, you know, my house is right over there. Can I come and take a look at it?
That man was Oso firefighter Seth Jeffords, and his home, his wife, and his infant granddaughter were gone.
Every fiber of my being wanted to just, essentially just cry. You know, I felt terrible for my fellow brother in the fire service and for all these other people that I knew had lost so much.
We have a massive amount of resources that are here. We are going to do everything that we can. It's very disappointing to all the emergency responders that are here on the scene.
Hotz also knew then he had to keep going.
Yeah, they encouraged me to take a break like midweek. They said, you're getting tired. We're seeing it. People are seeing it. You need to go home and get some rest.
He tried to leave. He even got in his car, but then took a right on State Route 530 and joined his fellow firefighters in the search and rescue efforts.
It gave me that opportunity to be able to come back to the news conferences and explain what we're up against and try to paint a picture so that people could understand.
And we're going to be working very, very hard out there.
And each time he faced the cameras, he thought of his own family, his 2 children, and the families who would never see their own loved ones again.
The question is what leads us to believe there may be more survivors?
You continued to talk about the hope of finding someone.
Yeah.
He says it was important then to keep that hope alive, just like it's important now to hope for continued healing.
To me, that's the ultimate sense of community.
And for this humble fire chief who inspired so many, that is what's most important.
I was just the spokesperson.
He never once wanted this story to be about him.
Helping your neighbors get through a tough time, it's one of the neatest things I've ever seen.